7 awakening moments that break every INFJ wide open. Have you ever experienced a moment that shook you to your core, not just emotionally, but spiritually? A moment that made you question everything, realign your values, and ultimately come face to face with who you really are? If you're an INFJ, chances are you've lived through several of these soul-altering experiences. And the truth is, no one walks away from them unchanged. Welcome to today's video. 7 awakening moments that break every INFJ wide open. This is a journey into the defining experiences that awaken the INFJ mind, soul, and heart. These moments aren't just intense, they're life-redefining. They strip away illusions, force self-reflection, and often leave INFJs staring straight into the eyes of their own potential, or their deepest pain. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and more importantly, prepare to see yourself. 1. The realization that not everyone means what they say. There's a particular kind of heartbreak that hits INFJs harder than most, discovering that people can lie without remorse. Imagine a young INFJ, maybe in their early teens. They trust easily, take words at face value, and believe promises are sacred. But then, someone breaks a promise without blinking. Maybe it was a best friend who gossiped behind their back or a parent who never followed through on their word. That's when it hits. Words are cheap. This realization doesn't just hurt, it shatters. INFJs live by integrity, so seeing someone casually lie or manipulate feels like emotional whiplash. It's not just betrayal, it's disorientation. INFJs have dominant introverted intuition paired with extroverted feeling. They look for harmony and meaning in relationships. So when someone acts out of alignment, it confuses them deeply. Don't stop believing in sincerity. Start recognizing patterns instead of isolated incidents. Journal interactions that feel off and revisit them later with emotional distance. Learn to trust actions more than words. Let behavior be your proof. 2. The moment you feel the weight of the world isn't yours to carry. INFJs are natural emotional sponges. We soak in people's pain without being asked. But there comes a moment, often after complete emotional burnout, where the INFJ hits a wall. You're there for everyone. The friend crying at 2 a.m., the sibling with endless drama, the coworker who offloads every bad day. You think, I can handle it. I always do, until one day, you can't. You snap, or break down. And that's the awakening. You're not responsible for healing everyone. The guilt is overwhelming. It feels selfish to pull back. But underneath the guilt is something powerful, liberation. Because INFJs intuitively feel others' emotions, we think it's our job to fix them. But constant emotional caretaking leads to compassion fatigue and identity loss. Practice saying, I'm not in a place to help with this right now. Learn to differentiate empathy from obligation. Develop emotional boundaries. Meditation and visualization help reclaim your energetic space. 3. When you finally accept that most people don't think like you. INFJs often assume their level of depth is normal, until proven otherwise. You're deep in a conversation about life purpose, existential fears, or patterns in human behavior. The other person stares blankly. You realize, they're not being rude. They genuinely don't go there. And they don't want to. This is an alienating moment. You wonder if you're too much or if you should tone down who you are. But this realization is also freeing. You stop waiting for everyone to meet you at your level. INFJs live in the abstract and symbolic. Most people live in the literal. Your depth isn't a flaw, it's a rare operating system. Find intellectual and emotional soulmates online or through niche communities. Accept that not everyone will get you, and that's okay. Start conversations with curiosity rather than expectation. 4. The identity crisis that forces you to rebuild from scratch. This awakening doesn't feel like one at first. It feels like death, the death of who you thought you were. You built your identity around being a helper, a partner, a peacemaker. Then, something collapses, a breakup, a job loss, a spiritual upheaval. And you're left staring at the mirror, asking, who am I without them? It's terrifying. But it's also the beginning of self-authorship. You stop performing. You start becoming. INFJs often mold themselves to fit environments. But these collapses force individuation, the psychological process of becoming your own person. Strip down to core values. Write down who you are when no one's watching. Explore new roles. You're allowed to evolve. See this as a rite of passage, not a failure. 5. When you understand that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. INFJs crave connection, but we also require solitude. This creates internal conflict. After social burnout, you retreat for a weekend. No texts. No obligations. Just quiet. And in that silence, you feel something shocking, peace. You realize being alone isn't a punishment. It's a sanctuary. This shift changes everything. You stop chasing surface-level connections and start craving authenticity, or nothing at all. Solitude isn't withdrawal for INFJs. It's recovery. It's where intuition sharpens, where the self returns. Schedule alone time without guilt. Build a solitude practice. Nature walks, journaling, or deep reading. Teach others to respect your need for recharge. 6. When you finally speak up, and it changes everything. INFJs often choose silence over conflict. But there comes a moment, usually when something sacred is at risk, when you can't stay quiet. You've tolerated mistreatment for years. At work. At home. Then one day, someone crosses a final line. And instead of retreating, you speak. You set a boundary. You say no, and the room goes silent. At first, fear. Then, a tidal wave of power. This is voice. This is sovereignty. INFJs fear disrupting harmony, but unexpressed needs create internal war. Assertiveness doesn't destroy relationships, it saves the right ones. Practice scripting difficult conversations in a journal. Remember, boundaries are bridges, not walls. 7. When you realize your sensitivity is your superpower. The final awakening is a full circle return to the self. INFJs spend years hiding their sensitivity, thinking it's weakness. But one day, something shifts. You see that your depth is what makes you powerful. You comfort someone with the exact words they didn't know they needed. You connect dots no one else sees. You intuit the unspoken. And instead of shrinking, you lean in. This isn't pride, it's peace. It's coming home to yourself. INFJ's sensitivity is tied to deep empathy and pattern recognition. When channeled intentionally, it becomes a healing force for you and others. Start treating your sensitivity as a gift. Nourish it. Take creative or therapeutic outlets seriously. They're not hobbies, they're soul medicine. Mentor others. Your journey has value. Each of these moments feels like breaking, but it's really awakening. INFJs don't transform gently. We break wide open. But in that breaking, we bloom. We rise not despite the cracks, but because of them. So if you're watching this and you've experienced one, or all, of these moments, know this: you're not alone. You're not broken. You're becoming. Drop a comment below. Which of these awakening moments have you lived through? What did it teach you? If this video spoke to your INFJ soul, hit the like button, share it with a fellow empath, and subscribe for more soul-deep content. You're not too much. You were made for more. See you in the next video, INFJ family.